How's everybody doing this evening? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Super excited about tonight's topic. So come on in so we can chat. Stick around if you want to hear a little bit more about oils, a little bit of chemistry, and why all of that fits into how they work in the body and why they're so powerful.
And I'm just getting us set up to go here while everybody populates. So, alrighty. So as everybody is populating, first and foremost, like Dana said, welcome all. Feel free to come in and let us know where you're from. Give us a little shout out and say hey in the comments. And as we're going along, if you guys have any questions or comments, I tend to typically swipe them away, but I will go back and review them at the end. But I want to say, how's everybody been? Hopefully everybody is doing really well. We just came back from our annual convention trip in Salt Lake City last week, or a little over a week and a half ago. And we really enjoyed ourselves. At least I did. How about you?
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. Amazing. It's hard to come back home after things like that, you know?
Yeah. I always tell everybody that Salt Lake City is kind of one of the best kept secrets that people don't really know
Don't
about.
tell anybody about it.
No, I'm kind of putting it out there, but I mean, like, it's starting to change a lot. A lot of millennials are starting to move there. There's a lot of growth and development going on in that area.
Absolutely.
So we enjoy it every time we go out. Young Living always puts on a great convention. There was a free concert that was included. Imagine Dragons came through and they really showed out. So that was a fun experience. And we took our kids this year and they really enjoyed it as well. We got to go to the farms, right? To go see the lavender farms. Mm-hmm. So that was cool. We took a couple people with us. They really enjoyed that as well. So I just wanted to take a minute to update you guys on what we've been doing and kind of so that you can understand the source of some of this material for tonight. Because we're talking about essential oils and how they interact with the body. And why composition and quality of oils is so important. So the information that I received, by nature, Dana's very similar, but by nature I am like a huge researcher and I like to have all of the information. I like to be well informed, especially when it comes to my health.
Absolutely.
On what I'm taking in, what I'm dealing with. And then I also, the way that my brain is, I like to see how things work. So for me, I really was interested in how essential oils work and interact with the body.
And here's the reality. So essential oils are popping up everywhere, right? You can find them at the grocery store. You can find them at, health food stores. Mm-hmm. You can find them at gas stations nowadays or whatnot. But why and what makes some different than others? Because here's the reality. Things like natural health, especially when it comes to something like essential oils, are not regulated because to them it's just like a cosmetic, right? So it's important to understand some of these levels, and so that we know when we're using them for more medicinal benefits, what we're getting and how powerful it can be in the body and its results.
Mm-hmm. So with that being said, I mean, take everything with a grain of salt. This is our personal experience. We are, number one, I'm not a scientist or a chemist, but we're also not trained medical professionals. So with that being said, we will not diagnose or try to treat anyone. But I thought this was interesting information to share. So one thing that really stuck out to me was when you think about your essential oils, for those who have had experiences with them, why do some hit you as a little bit stronger? Or why do you get certain fragrances within your oil? So like, a good example was they used something like sacred frankincense. They had a panel of 10 people who all put sacred frankincense on their left hand, I believe, and everybody smelled different hints or different tones that was different. And so it is interesting to me because I know that one of my favorite oils is Diagize, and every time I teach a class, I always tell people, to me, it smells like bacon. And I think I've gotten maybe one person to agree with me. The general consensus tends to be no, but those tones hit everybody differently.
Yes.
You know.
Yes. And just to piggyback on that, remember when we talk about natural health and oils, they're bioadaptable. So again, because there's different notes, different people might smell different things, and there's also times you might smell something at a different time that you get something different.
Mm-hmm. So that's the first thing to remember, that once an oil hits your skin, that aroma is going to change over time. So how it smelled when you first opened the bottle up, after 10 seconds, what you smell after 30 seconds, if you're diffusing, what you smell after a half an hour is going to change. Mm-hmm. And that's because of how the oils are, the molecules that they're made up of. And so once again, I'm not a chemist. I'm going to do my best to explain this, and then we'll talk about the application, how it applies. So first and foremost, I want you guys to understand that what essential oils are at their core. They are produced by plants for protection. So something like lavender actually has essential oils that are produced on it. If you rub your hands against like a lavender bud, what's going to end up on your hands, you're going to get a little trace of residual of essential oil that is produced by that lavender. And what those oils do is they say to certain insects like, hey, come over here and pollinate. Or if there are certain animals that may want to eat that plant, then it may give off a certain aroma that says, hey, don't eat me. So at its core, what that essential oil is doing for that plant is protecting it. So some of the benefits that we derive from them also serve as protection. So I want people to understand that too. But when they go through the distillation, when they go through actually taking it from the plant to the bottle, essentially all they're doing is pulling that essential oil out of that plant and bottling it for our use. So one thing that I love about Young Living's oils is they're very stringent when it comes to the quality, how they pull that oil out of the plant, how it's bottled, and then it's tested multiple times to make sure that essential oil remains pure throughout the entire process, all the way from the plant, from the seed, right?
Right.
All the way to the bottle you get.
And any of those steps, if they're not done precisely for that particular herb, shrub, flower, it can completely adjust and change the chemistry of it, right? So let's say you heat something up too much to get those oils from it. You could lose those constituent properties. You can lose those medicinal benefits. It might still smell like maybe peppermint or still smell like lavender, but you're not going to get any of those medicinal benefits because you have now messed with the chemistry of it.
Mm-hmm. And understand what I'm about to talk about too. This is just simply not present in something that's a knockoff. If it's man-made, it's not going to have these molecules. These come specifically from the plant. That's why it's so important that you look at where you're getting your oils from. So your essential oils are made up of molecules, from small molecules, which are called monoterpenes, all the way up to your bigger molecules, which are triterpenes. They are monoterpenes, sesquiterpenes, diterpenes, and triterpenes. I'm not going to try to break down exactly what each one of those are. Just know that your smallest molecule is the monoterpenes, and they're usually present in some of the oils that you might smell very quickly. If you want to go ahead and research what those terms are and how they apply to essential oils, you're more than welcome to do so. But typically, a bottle of oil will be composed of 100 to 300 molecules with their own aromas and bioactivity. So when you think about that, that's a lot of molecules that are stored within each oil, and how they respond to the body is based off of your individual DNA and how your body reacts. So I think it's interesting that when you're actually so the lighter molecules, they come out first. That's your monoterpenes. Remember, it's the smallest ones. So you'll typically find that in something like orange oil, jade lemon, sacred frankincense, any of your more citrusy oils, or things that you think of that are good for like deodorizing, maybe, or ones that you might use for emotional support. They are going to hit you very fast, and usually that scent will change over time. So I thought that was actually kind of cool.
Yeah, I think that's cool too.
Because sometimes this is the funny thing. So like when we're teaching a class, like you'll see somebody, they'll open a bottle, and depending on what the oil is, they'll open it, they'll smell it for like 2 seconds, and then they'll pass it. But you really want to allow that to linger, right?
Yep, because you're missing a lot of those notes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so when I heard that point, I was like, like that's why it's so important for you to diffuse. But also, when someone is trying it for the first time, let them really engross and envelop, and really get a feel for that oil, because over the first 10, 30 seconds, 30 minutes, it's going to change drastically, and you're really going to get all of those molecules.
That really makes me think today I met with a good friend, and we were going through the oils, playing with them and everything, and Stress Away. The very first thing she smelled in Stress Away was lime. Right? Because it is that lighter, the lighter note, right? That comes out first. So again, when you sit with that for a little bit longer, you're going to start picking up those other notes that are in that particular oil.
A good analogy for it is almost like an orchestra, and how maybe as a person who doesn't understand music, or doesn't have that trained ear to hear the different instruments within the orchestra, like all you hear is music. And so it sounds good to you. You like the overall feel, the way it makes you feel. But as you become more trained and more used to picking out certain instruments within that orchestra or within that music at that time, you're going to say, I didn't know there was a bass there. Oh, I like that.
Like, I hear the trombone
right,
now.
I didn't hear they got a piccolo in there.
Yep.
And that's kind of how it is with oils. So it's funny that you said, like, with something like Stress Away, which does have lime in it, but it also has vanilla. I smell vanilla first. And then the lime will come, and then the oak tea and the other oils that are within that blend will come over time. And so that's why it's one of my favorite ones to diffuse, because like that lime will hit you, and it's the happy oil, right? And then some of the other oils that are in there help to mellow you out a little bit, but you're only going to get that as it's time released.
Yes, that's true.
So I thought that was kind of cool. And then also the different molecules within an essential oil, they take on different shapes. So with the different shapes and the way that your body receives them, it's almost like a filter. What's the little toy that you used to play with that had the different shapes? It was like the little ball that had like a triangle and a star and a block. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So think of like your nose and the way that we receive aromas, kind of like that. And certain molecules are like those different shapes where it says, okay, triangle, triangle, triangle goes here, square goes here. And that's when you get those different notes when you're smelling an oil. So your more lemony or citrusy ones might be that circle that goes there. And your body will actually filter those out. And as they get used to filtering it, you'll get more and more of the effects from them. So once again, your monoterpenes, they fill the room very quickly. They're good for diffusing. That was such ones like jade, lemon, orange, and frankincense. They're good for having aromas that encourage emotions, good emotions within the body. And then you have your sesquiterpenes. They tend to hang around moist surfaces. So if you'll notice, there might be certain blends that are more encouraged for topical use, because what's your biggest moist surface? Your skin, right? So they're designed specifically with that in mind to be used topically, because they're going to react to the moisture within your skin. They're going to get into the bloodstream and do their thing from there. One other kind was an oxygenated monoterpene, which is found in something like peppermint. They have like cooling effects on the body. So that's why like peppermint oil might feel cool. And so I bring all of that to the forefront to really just applaud Young Living and the research that they did when they were developing certain blends of oils, because they did their research.
Yes.
And when it comes down to it, when they did their research, they were like, we want every oil to have a specific purpose. We want it to hit you a certain way. We want it to have a certain effect on the body. And like I said, I'm not a chemist, and the little bit that I got, I was like, that really impressed me.
Yeah.
Not only that Young Living does their research like that, but the fact that these oils, the composition of these oils and how they interact with the body, it's really interesting stuff.
It really, really is. And if you're new to essential oils, be sure to also check out like our introduction to essential oils, because this is kind of a little, next level essential oils.
Oh yeah, this is not for the faint of heart.
So be sure to check out that video as well. But just in line with that, I was just thinking too, when we think about the composition and things like that of these particular oils and how they're working on the body, we can see how we were designed, we were created to actually be able to take on these plants and adapt, right? So just like was mentioned earlier, it's protecting the plant, right? It's either protecting the plant or it's feeding something in that plant. Well, that's the exact same thing it does in our bodies, because we all essentially come from the earth, right? So our composition is made up of a lot of the same similar elements that are going to be found in some of these plants. And so it only makes sense that when we talk about some of these benefits of the oils, they're going to work harmoniously together. Unfortunately, what we do sometimes as men is we say, oh my goodness, like nature, we love what you're doing, but let's work a little bit faster. So let's add this chemical in there and add this composition. And so then the chemists go in and they make certain things, and then that's what we get medicine, right?
Yeah, change the chemical composition.
And maybe it works faster, but now the body is confused, because now there's all of these things that it's like, wait a minute, I don't quite know how to adapt or to work with some of those
I don't
things.
recognize
Or I
that.
don't recognize it, right? It's like,
recognize
what is this? And how is that working in my system, right? So whereas when we look at pure essential oils, when we look at pure plants, and some of these compositions, again, they're going to work harmoniously with our bodies.
So to tie it all together, I just really quickly want to go back to, because once again, if you're unfamiliar, look at our intro to essential oils. But when we talk about using your oils and how they interact with the body, it's important to understand then why you're using certain oils certain ways. So when we talk about rubbing an oil on the skin, the reason that we rub it on the skin is because your skin is highly permeable, right? And we're trying to get those oils and get those monoterpenes, those sesquiterpenes, and we're trying to get them into the bloodstream, right? So you're going to want to take a couple of things into consideration. You want to find areas that have high circulation, right? Because they're going to help get it into the bloodstream a little bit quicker. Find areas that have high absorption as well. So that's going to be anywhere where your sweat glands are, your hair follicles. Head is a good place. The soles of your feet, your palms, armpits, things of that nature are going to be good for helping to get more of it into the body. And then look at certain systems that you're trying to support. What's the chart that we use that has the different organs that are connected to
The Vitaflex.
Vitaflex points? Yeah. That's why I'm glad I have you here. So look at that too. The Vitaflex points are very important.
And you actually have Vitaflex points in your feet. You have them on your ear, and you have them in your hands.
Oh yeah. So that's something to look at. I am a huge proponent for using your essential oils, especially when it comes to your sense of smell. Diffusing is great. If you want to cover over bad smells or to freshen the air in your house, that's great. But I mean, when we look at the psychology and how they can affect your emotional state and what they're doing in that field and the applications of that, it's actually phenomenal.
It's amazing.
So look at that as well. I know it's funny that all the research says it's not common in the U.S. to use essential oils internally, but Young Living has oils that you can take internally. Like,
they are marked non-GMO, the Vitality line.
Yeah, it's like people still are surprised when they're like, oh, you can take EOs internal. Yes, they have. They're specifically labeled for internal use, and some of the benefits that you can bring about for your body by taking them internally are phenomenal as well. So I encourage everybody, do your research. But I just wanted to give you guys just like a taste of some of the chemistry behind it to really understand just how smart those little bottles of oils are and how they can affect and help the body.
The magical pixie dust.
Right. So,
and then I did want to just add on to that too, because another thing that I've heard many times or people have asked is things very simply like, can I make my own blends? Should I mix this oil with that oil? It's definitely safe to mix certain oils, but understand Young Living has, you know, how many blends, but there is a reason behind all of the mixtures. They have biochemists on hand that have actually tested and put different oils together to see how they work together, because you absolutely can overdo it or mix too much things and then things just cancel themselves out. They're not going to have necessarily a harmful effect, but what's the point if they're not really giving you, again, those beautiful benefits that you're looking for in the oils?
Mm-hmm. Unless you just want to smell good.
Right. So be mindful of that too when it comes to like mixing oils or putting certain ones together.
More specifically, blends.
Yes, you generally don't necessarily want to mix multiple blends together. And then the other thing I was just thinking, with this time of year, back to school, kids getting back into routines and things like that, being around germs, we talked about taking oils internally. So build their immune systems now, right? Again, because of the way these beautiful oils work harmoniously with our bodies, as a protection for the plant and as a protection for us as humans, that's going to be an amazing protection for your little ones. We did do a back to school special as well, so if you have not seen that video, definitely check out that one on YouTube, because that was an awesome one where we go deep dive into specific products and oils that you can use to protect your babies.
Yeah. So with that being said, I mean, I went back and looked at the comments. Thank you everybody for your love. It sounds like people enjoyed that information, for my fellow oilers out there and new oilers likewise. If you guys have any further questions that we can try to answer, feel free to drop them down in the chat below. We'll try to go back and answer them. But thank you everybody for tuning in. Once again, we just love bringing you guys new content when we talk about health and wellness. And we try to encompass everything when it comes to health and wellness. So more than just your physical health, we try to encompass emotional, and now we're featuring financial health, because that's something that's lacking so much nowadays. So look out for that content coming up as well. And continue to follow us on wherever you can find podcasts. We are DNA Wellness. Follow us on YouTube, where all of these are also posted as well. Do us a favor, like and subscribe to help out the algorithm. So if you are not subscribed to our YouTube channel, find us on YouTube, DNA Wellness. Please subscribe. If you like any of the content on there, please like it, because it helps with the YouTube algorithm. But with that being said,
and share. This content is for you guys, right? Like, we are educators for all of you, right? So get back with the person that shared this video with you. We love you guys.
And we'll see you on the next one.
Bye guys. Peace. Take care.